this is the beauty of having crew, right? And so Dwayne was always drawing. I have sketches that he did from Boston of our house, like the couch. And every one of our roommates, we all had a superpower. One of my roommates had the remote, and it was like no one could touch the remote. You know, that's my superpower. And his little baby was levitating next to him, right? So like we had this running theme of Dwayne would just draw stuff, and we'd be like, "Damn, that's so sick. Could you?" And so that was early in the phases. It was like, Dwayne, I want you to use your art. I want to showcase your skills because no one's doing this. And then we have V3000 now, you know, famous Victor Solomon early in his career wanting to do new things within the skate video realm. So he's like, I want to shoot in only Super 8. I'm like, well, that's, I don't even know what that means. So how much does that cost? Like, like I need a budget for that. And he's like, well, I want to shoot Brandon in a white suit at night. And you're like, well, then we need generators. Okay, so let's make a budget. Let's create a break-even point. And I think that was for me sitting at the like the RZA level, right? Just looking at all of it and being like, yo, we need to break even at least across this. Like if we don't do anything besides break even, it'll be a loss. But if we just break even,
that's a win.
I'll call it a super win.
That's a win.
Because we'll bring something totally new to ASR, we'll bring something totally new to the industry and to the culture. And like in that, I think we're the first video to have an MF Doom song, right? We use Apollo.
Was it Josh that skated to MF Doom?
Omar sections. Okay. MF Doom. You got Apollo Kids because yours was like coming out the bodega ready to just like
it's so fitting
on everything. Like you was just just kill mode. You was in kill mode, so it was crazy.
That was crazy.
Cal had the like ethereal country song style with the whatever 8 film, right? And so like he had the real picturesque, and like you said, Scott was just coming out the smoke like every shot. He even has like a dope switch up on a kink row where he switches in the smoke, so you don't see him switch up. He just comes out of the smoke in a different trick. So it was a beautiful piece.
I mean, dude, just to touch on mine, to provide a little context, like that was my first time skating street in California, and it was under such a different environment in that I was used to all of my skating before that, everything that had filmed or came out on videos or photos was in such a different context. It would be like skating at a session with like a bunch of New York kids. Someone pulled out a camera, someone pulled out a picture camera. And that's how you'd get your stuff. Even when Daily Bread came, we were all just kind of sessioning and they were just getting their photos. This was like, I was like, whoa, this is like professional blading. I was out there for like 7 or 8 days, something like that. And Keith Wilson was out there. So for those who don't know, he was like Daily Bread photographer. And I don't know if Keith came out to like shoot for Daily Bread. It was a big deal at the time because he was a staff photographer for Daily Bread. He wasn't like a freelance photographer, for example. If he came out, it's to be in Daily Bread. So it was very exciting. And we got like V, me, Kel, and Keith and just go to like deadly shit. You know what I mean? And I was just like, what the fuck? And it was my first time in California. I wanted to like live up to something. And they'd kind of just be like, well, like bring you to something insane and then give you like this cold, like, so you know, you're going to do it. Like
the Royale on that diamond rail was crazy. The diamond drop rail to Gap afterwards. Bro, I always saw that. And like, even the picture in Daily Bread was nuts. And I'm like, that is crazy.
Bro, it was like such a stress. It was so stressful, but it was like, it was cool because it was like, wow, this is what it is at the time. Like it felt like my introduction to like what like being a pro would or could be, or like the work ethic that it required and like what kind of environments it did. Like that Monx trip was like my first introduction to, even with like everything being a part of being out with Brandon and the limo thing and the generators and I was like, whoa, this is pro blading shit. You know what I mean? I was like, because like I said, everything before that, it was in such a different setting. You know, it was like in those kind of like live from New York, just session settings type thing. So yeah, that was, I don't know, the Monx video was a really cool experience. It was a really cool thing. And I feel like now like so much time has passed, like, and there's so many skaters that started skating after it. And with the wake of like, you know, most stuff being on YouTube. And if it's not in YouTube in proper format, most people don't even see it. I feel like I couldn't find the Monx video for a long time, and it just parts of it just ended up on YouTube recently, right?
Yeah, some people started putting it up. I'm not mad at it. I need to post it myself. We can talk about stuff later that I should be doing in terms of being online and my online presence. But yeah, I'm looking at the chat too, because it's blowing up on the fact that 20 plus years later, we talking about the Monx video and its influence. And the truth of the matter is, we wanted you to have that Daily Bread cover, and Keith fucked the photo up. Like,
oh yeah, what happened there?
So, like, he just blurred it out. It just didn't come out nice enough. It was
what
the
clip was it?
gap. The Clipper gap.
So like Clipper, right? Even
but it was good enough for the magazine, just not the cover.
No, they used it for the magazine, and it's still like a bad photo, no grab. They used it anyway. But if you look at the one that I landed, I'm like above it grabbed. It's like clean. But like that photo didn't come out well because it was before the era of digital cameras when everything was just film, and they would take the photo and be like, I hope it came out. Like you don't know until however much time passed. And so in that era, which was just, I mean, since we're on the subject, just you'd have to do things more than once, you know, like bigger tricks because of that reason. I'm not sure, whatever. It was really kind of stressful time for skating. It wasn't easy in that way, but that's interesting to think about.
Yeah,
but
no, I appreciate that you in your career now can look back on it as an entrance into the pro scene, because that's what we were trying to offer you, was something that the West Coast could only at that time really offer, which was that like professional setting of like, we're gonna have everything set up for you. You just gotta come lay something, like just come do something dope, and then you would lace like a front Nugan to like 270 back row, and we'd be like, God damn, or like you were like 360 starring everything at that time, and I was like, Jesus, oh my God,
dude, I just remember, I remember like the team itself, like I really feel like everyone was kind of like in their own right, like just such a special skater, you know. Josh Latona at that time was freaking out of control. He was out of control. He has like at the time and like on big rails like a bunch like 20 NBDs under his belt of just like wild negative stuff, and just so you know, not traditional of an approach. And you know, obviously Omar and then early Brandon, like look who Brandon went on to be in skating, and just like his impact. And you know, obviously Cal, I feel like, you know, Kel was like a kind of more from the older school, like, and he was like part of like that bridge transition between like the old school to the new school. And then, you know, Scott Moore, like, you know, Bay Area legend, like, you know, a lot of his tricks too, like, and just like a lot of his tricks. I think he was like the first one that did the gap to top sole at it's not Berkeley, it's I don't know.
Oh, you mean the super drop rails in Piedmont?
Yeah, no, the gap to top sole Piedmont. I feel like he was the first one to do that gap to rail, and like a lot of like the big top soles, the big fish brains and stuff. But it's a really cool part of blading history, you know.
Thank you,
Kennan. You posted something recently of like Brandon, I guess one of his clips or something like that, coming out the limo. Who was the limo driver? Because there was some BTS in that caption or something like that I was like, I knew nothing about.
So we, you know, I'm like 20 something in this time. So like, let's just give me some grace and all. Like I was feeling myself a lot most of the time during this era. And we just like, I don't remember the limo driver's name, but he's a Filipino dude. He was like Julio's height. We were like, yo, it's Julio's uncle. So it was just Julio's uncle for a while, and we was just rolling with Julio's uncle. And then it just slipped into like, it was just Julio for a minute. You know, it was, you know, I wasn't skating. I was just in the limo. Brandon was the one out there skating. But yeah, we just called him, he was Julio's uncle. That was his name.
I didn't realize that was a joke reading that from the caption.